A tale of two broken souls, a lonely road, and a discovery that would shatter everything Chase Hale thought he knew about luck, love, and second chances. What he found that misty October morning wasn't just a woman left for dead. It was the beginning of something that would flip his entire world upside down. But the truth about who she really was, that revelation, would leave him speechless. This is a story about losing everything, finding hope in the most unexpected place, and realizing that sometimes fate has a twisted way of putting the right people on the wrong roads at exactly the right time. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tuning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. The October fog hung thick and low that morning, clinging to the ground like a heavy blanket. Chase Hale's boots crunched against the gravel as he walked along County Road 47, a stretch of forgotten asphalt that rarely saw more than 3 cars a day. He'd been walking for about 40 minutes now, roughly 3 miles from the old farmhouse, heading toward the Hutchinson place where he'd promised to help repair a barn roof. The pay wasn't much, but it was something, and something was better than nothing when you had a 6-year-old daughter depending on you. That's when he saw it. At first, it looked like a pile of dark clothes someone had dumped in the drainage ditch, but something about the shape made his stomach clench. No, not clothes. A person.
"Hey!" Chase broke into a run, his heart hammering. "Hey, can you hear me?" As he got closer, the details came into horrifying focus. It was a woman, lying motionless in the shallow ditch, her body twisted at an unnatural angle. Her business suit was torn and filthy, covered in mud and dried blood. Her face was bruised beyond recognition, swollen, purple, the kind of damage that came from fists, not from falling. Chase dropped to his knees beside her, his construction site first aid training kicking in. He pressed 2 fingers against her neck, searching for a pulse. There. Faint, but there. "Ma'am? Ma'am, can you hear me?" No response. Her skin was ice cold beneath his fingertips. This wasn't an accident. Nobody falls into a ditch and ends up looking like this. Someone had beaten this woman, badly, and left her here to die. But there was something else that made his blood even colder. Her legs. The way they were positioned, the muscle wasting visible even through her torn slacks. And there, half buried in the dirt beside her, track marks in the mud, like something with wheels had been here. A wheelchair. Someone had beaten a woman who couldn't walk and dumped her body out here in the middle of nowhere. Chase looked up and down the empty road. Not a single car, not a house in sight, no phone service out here. The nearest phone was back at Mrs. Dottie's place, a 1/4 mile from his farmhouse. He checked the woman's breathing again. Shallow, labored. She didn't have hours. The decision came fast. He carefully lifted her, cradling her like he used to carry his daughter. The woman weighed almost nothing. As he lifted her, her head lolled against his chest, and he heard a soft, unconscious whimper of pain. "I've got you. You're gonna be okay. I promise."
The walk back felt like miles. His arms burned, his back screamed, but he didn't stop. Every few minutes, he'd pause just to check if she was still breathing, then keep moving. The fog began to lift as he finally saw the outline of his farmhouse through the trees. The old structure looked run down in the morning light. Peeling paint, sagging porch, that hole in the roof he kept meaning to patch. Chase shouldered his way through the front door and headed straight for his bedroom. He laid the woman gently on his bed and grabbed the first aid kit from the hall closet. The muscle atrophy in her legs was severe. Years of paralysis, not months. The bruising on her arms showed where someone had gripped her hard. Defensive wounds on her hands where she tried to fight back. This wasn't random violence. This was personal. Chase ran to Mrs. Dottie's house, pounding on her door until the elderly woman answered. "Chase, what in heaven's name?" "I need your phone, now. There's a woman. Someone hurt her. Bad." Mrs. Dottie handed him her old rotary phone without question. "What's your location, sir?" 1247 County Road 47. I found a woman on the side of the road. She's been beaten, unconscious, and I think she's paralyzed. Chase rattled off everything he could: pulse rate, breathing, visible injuries. Then came the words that made his stomach drop. Sir, there's been a major accident on Interstate 88. Our nearest available ambulance is approximately 3 hours away. 3 hours. Understood.
He ran back to check on the woman. She was exactly as he'd left her. Pale, cold, barely breathing. Chase pulled a chair up beside the bed, checking her pulse every 10 minutes, talking to her even though she couldn't hear him, because the silence felt too much like death. Whoever you are, you're a fighter, so just keep breathing, okay? An hour passed, then 90 minutes, and then her eyes fluttered open. Chase leaned forward instantly. "Hey, you're safe. Don't try to move." Her eyes were wild with terror, unfocused, searching for threats that weren't there. "Please, don't let them find me. No one's going to hurt you here, I promise." "My chair." Her words came in broken fragments. "They took my chair, said I wouldn't need it, burned it right in front of me." Chase felt rage coil in his gut. "Veronica," the woman whispered. "My sister. She watched. She just watched. Shh, save your strength. Help is coming." "They left me to die." A single tear rolled down her bruised cheek. "She said our father was a fool, giving me the company when I can't even walk." Then her eyes rolled back and she was unconscious again. The ambulance finally arrived 2 hours and 47 minutes after his call. The paramedics rushed in with professional efficiency. "Sir, did she say anything?" "She was conscious for maybe a minute. Said something about her sister, about her wheelchair being burned." The paramedic's expression darkened. This woman's been drugged, heavy sedatives, and these injuries, someone wanted her dead. "Which hospital are you taking her to?" "St. Catherine's in Bloomington." Chase nodded. "I'm following you there." Chase ran back to Mrs. Dottie's house where his daughter Brielle was having breakfast. The little girl looked up from her cereal. "Daddy, you's back early." "Something happened this morning. I found a lady who's hurt, and I need to make sure she gets to the hospital safely. Can you be a big girl and come with me?" Brielle's brown eyes went wide. "Is she hurt bad?" "Pretty bad, yeah." "Then we gotta help her." Brielle jumped down and grabbed her stuffed rabbit. "Mr. Bunny always makes me feel better when I'm scared. Maybe the hurt lady needs him too." The drive to St. Catherine's took an hour. A police officer approached Chase almost as soon as he walked through the doors. "Sir, I am Officer Martinez. I understand you're the one who found the victim?" For the next hour, Chase gave his statement while Brielle clung to him. "Mr. Hale, do you have any idea who this woman is?" "No." She was unconscious most of the time. Officer Martinez wrote something in his notebook. "Between you and me, this looks like attempted murder. But she did survive. Because of you," the officer met his eyes. "You saved her life, Mr. Hale." "Daddy, can we wait here till the sleeping lady wakes up?" "Yes, sweetheart, we can wait." They waited for hours. Brielle drew pictures with crayons a kind nurse provided. Chase sat in the uncomfortable plastic chair, his mind wandering to places he'd been trying to not go for 2 years. He thought about Andrea, about the day she'd collapsed, how the doctors had said stage 4 and weeks, not months. He thought about Marcus, his business partner, who had stolen everything while Chase was buried in grief. The lawyers said he'd have to declare bankruptcy. Creditors took the house, the cars, everything. The farmhouse had been Andrea's childhood home, inherited from her parents. It was falling apart, but it was all they had left. For 2 years, Chase had been surviving, just barely. But this morning, when he'd found that woman in the ditch, something had shifted. For the first time in 2 years, he'd felt useful, necessary. "Mr. Hale?" Chase looked up.
A doctor in scrubs stood before him. "I'm Dr. Patel. She's stable now. Critical, but stable. She has 3 cracked ribs, severe contusions, and evidence of long-term paralysis. Someone also drugged her heavily. This was a planned attack." Chase felt sick. "Can she have visitors?" "Not yet. She's unconscious and will likely remain that way for at least another day." That evening, after tucking Brielle into bed, Chase sat on the porch steps and looked up at the stars. He thought about the woman lying in that hospital bed, about the terror in her eyes, about whoever had hurt her and why. Tomorrow, he'd go back. He'd keep his promise to Brielle. The stars offered no answers, but they rarely did. Chase woke to Brielle bouncing on his bed at 6 in the morning. "Daddy, we gotta go see the hurt lady." They arrived at St. Hatherine's at 8:30. The nurse smiled when she saw them. "Back again? She's still unconscious, sweetie, but I bet she'd love to see your drawings when she wakes. Can we put them on her wall?" "I think that would be wonderful." In the private room, Chase saw the woman in proper lighting for the first time. She was younger than he'd thought. Early 30s, maybe? Even with the bruising, he could see delicate features, high cheekbones, long blonde hair, the kind of face that belonged in boardrooms, not beaten and left to dead. Brielle placed Mr. Bunny on the bedside table. "There, now you won't be lonely." Hours passed. At 11 a.m., Officer Martinez appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Hale, we have an ID, and this situation is a lot bigger than we initially thought." Chase's stomach tightened. "Who is she?" Officer Martinez pulled out a photograph. "Her name is Valentina Cross, CEO of Cross Technologies. She's been missing for 2 days." Chase stared at the photograph, then at Valentina in the bed. Cross Technologies. He knew that name. One of the biggest tech companies in the country, worth billions. Her family? They're the ones who did this? "We're investigating, but this woman had 70% ownership of a multi-billion-dollar company. Certain people apparently thought her wheelchair made her unfit to lead." Officer Martinez's expression hardened. "We're looking at her stepsister and several board members." Someone had tried to murder her for money, for power.
"We'll need you to testify when this goes to trial." Chase nodded slowly. "Whatever she needs." "Daddy," Brielle tugged his sleeve, "what's a CEO?" "It means she's in charge of a big company, sweetheart. A very important person." "But she's hurt real bad. Being important doesn't stop people from being hurt, does it?" "No, baby, it doesn't." "Maybe she needs friends more than she needs being important. Friends don't leave you in ditches." Chase reached over and smoothed his daughter's hair. "You're absolutely right, sweetheart." The next day, Valentina was still unconscious. Chase and Brielle came again. On the 3rd day, Brielle brought a book. "Can I read to her, Daddy? Mommy used to say that sick people can hear stories even when they're sleeping." "Yes, sweetheart. I think she'd like that." So Brielle read, stumbling over words, making up funny voices. Chase watched and felt something stir in his chest. Hope, maybe. Or just the strange comfort of feeling needed again. On the 4th day, everything changed. They arrived to find Valentina's room bustling with activity. The crowd parted, and he saw her, awake. Sitting up in bed, looking pale but unmistakably conscious. Her dark eyes landed on Chase. "You," she said, her voice hoarse, "you're the one who found me." "Yeah, that was me. The nurses told me. They said you carried me 3 miles and saved my life. Anyone would have done the same." "No." Valentina's voice was firm. "They wouldn't have. Most people would have kept walking, especially once they realized," she gestured to her legs, "once they realized I couldn't walk." "You're not broken," Chase said before he could stop himself. Their eyes met and held. "Daddy, can I say hi now?" Valentina's expression softened. "Is this your daughter?" "This is Brielle. Brielle, this is Valentina Cross." "You's got a pretty name. It sounds like a princess name." Valentina's laugh was weak but genuine. "Not quite, sweetie.
I left my bunny for you so you wouldn't be lonely. Did he help?" Valentina's eyes filled with tears. She reached for the stuffed rabbit. "He helped very much. Thank you, Brielle." A suited man cleared his throat. "Miss Cross, we should let you rest." "No. Give me a few minutes alone with Mr. Hale and his daughter. Please." The room emptied. Valentina studied Chase. She set Brielle down. He chose his words carefully. "2 years ago, I lost my wife to cancer, lost my business to a crooked partner, lost everything except my daughter and an old farmhouse." He met Valentina's eyes. "I know what it feels like when the world kicks you when you're down. So when I saw you in that ditch, I wasn't going to be one of those people who walks away." Valentina's expression shifted. "They tried to kill me," she said quietly. "My stepsister Veronica and 3 board members. They drugged me, drove me out to that road, and destroyed my wheelchair. Burned it while I watched. Veronica said our father was a fool for leaving me the company when I can't even walk." Chase felt rage coil in his gut. That's evil. "Yeah, but I had been gathering evidence of their embezzlement for months. They decided to remove the problem."
"Except the problem is still here," Chase said firmly. "Because of you." Valentina's voice dropped to a whisper. "You saved my life, Chase Hale. You don't owe me anything." "Yes, I do. And more than that, I don't have anyone. No family I can trust. For days, the only people who came were a stranger and his 6-year-old daughter." Chase thought about his own isolation since Andrea's death. "Yeah, I know exactly how that feels." Their eyes met again, and this time the connection was undeniable. "Look, Daddy, this machine shows her heartbeat," Brielle pointed excitedly. Valentina laughed, and the sound transformed her face. Chase found himself smiling too, something warm unfurling in his chest. Maybe that morning on the foggy road had been the start of something neither of them could have predicted, something that looked a lot like hope. Over the next 2 weeks, Chase and Brielle became fixtures at St. Catherine's. They visited every day. Chase brought soup and conversation. Brielle brought endless drawings and stories. Valentina began to heal. The bruises faded. She could sit up without wincing. But without her wheelchair, she was trapped. "The custom one I had took 6 months to build," she explained one afternoon. "It was designed specifically for my needs. It cost more than most people's cars." And they just destroyed it. Poured gasoline on it and lit a match. Valentina's voice was matter-of-fact, but Chase saw the pain. "You're not helpless," Chase said firmly. "You're running your company from a hospital bed and building a case against people who tried to murder you. That's not helpless." Valentina smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "The hospital is discharging me next week, but I can't go back to my penthouse, it's a crime scene, and I can't go to a facility because Veronica tried to have me committed. If I check in voluntarily, it gives credibility to her story." "So where will you go?" "I don't know."
Chase opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. The offer was crazy, but he remembered that morning. He remembered Andrea's words. "Promise me you'll stay open to love." "Stay with us," he heard himself say. Valentina blinked. "What?" "The farmhouse. It's not fancy, but there's room. You'd be safe. Mrs. Dottie has an old wheelchair from when her husband was alive, and I was a contractor. I can build ramps, modify things." "Chase, why would you do this?" "Because I don't see CEO Valentina Cross. I just see someone who needs help." Brielle tugged his sleeve. "Can I give her Mr. Bunny now, Daddy?" Valentina watched the little girl. "You're a good man, Chase Hale. I'm just a man trying not to drown. Maybe we can tread water together for a while." She laughed through her tears. "Okay, but I'll help too. With the house, expenses. I'm not dead weight." Chase smiled. "Deal." The next 3 days were a whirlwind. Chase borrowed the old wheelchair and spent every hour working on the farmhouse, building a ramp, modifying the bathroom, creating a desk from reclaimed wood. Mrs. Dottie brought casseroles and blankets. "Make her feel like family," she said. The day Valentina was discharged, Chase drove to the hospital. Brielle bounced in her seat, chattering about everything she'd show Valentina. Valentina was waiting, dressed in simple jeans and a sweater. She looked nervous. "Ready?" Chase asked. Valentina stared at the old wheelchair, then lifted herself into it with practiced efficiency. "It's perfect," she said. The drive was quiet. When they pulled up to the farmhouse, peeling paint, sagging porch, Valentina studied it. "It's beautiful." "You're a terrible liar." "I'm serious. It feels like a home." Chase lifted her from the truck, trying not to notice how his hands lingered at her waist. Inside, Valentina wheeled through each room slowly. She stopped at the desk he'd built. "You made this?" "Nothing fancy." "Chase," she turned to look at him. "This is the kindest thing anyone has ever done for me." He didn't know what to say. How could that be possible? "You deserve kindness," he said simply. Their eyes locked, and the farmhouse kitchen felt very warm. Then Brielle stumbled in. "Miss Valentina, you're here. Come see my room." The moment broke, but the warmth remained. The first week was an adjustment. Valentina worked remotely, rebuilding her company from the farmhouse. Chase went back to his odd jobs, and Brielle appointed herself Valentina's official helper. 1 butterfly, 2 butterfly, 3 butterfly, she'd count as Valentina did physical therapy stretches. In the evenings, after Brielle went to bed, Chase and Valentina would sit by the fireplace. They talked about everything. She told him about the isolation of being CEO, about how her wheelchair had become both challenge and teacher. People treat you differently. They talk slower, make decisions for you without asking. They act like your disability defines you. That must be exhausting. It is. But it taught me who's worth keeping in my life. Chase felt the weight of her gaze. Brielle said you're the only grown-up who doesn't talk to her like she's stupid. She's brilliant. Why would I? Exactly. Chase leaned back. I lost my wife 2 years ago. Cancer. 6 weeks from diagnosis to... He couldn't finish. Then my business partner stole everything. Lost the house, the business. Ended up here because this was all we had left. I'm sorry, Valentina said softly. The grief is one thing, but the isolation after? People stopped calling because they didn't know what to say. I understand that, Valentina said. When I had my writing accident, half my friends vanished. I wasn't convenient anymore. They sat in silence, 2 people who'd been left behind, finding understanding in each other. Can I ask you something? Valentina's voice was tentative. Anything. Why aren't you angry? He considered carefully. I was angry. For months. But then Brielle asked me why I was so sad all the time. Said her teacher told her sad daddies can't see happy things. I realized I could either stay angry or find the good moments. That's survival. He turned to look at her. You understand that. You've been surviving your whole life, proving yourself, building an empire despite everyone saying you couldn't. Chase, I don't think you realize how extraordinary you are. You saved my life. You opened your home. You treat me like a person, not a charity case. You just see me. That's not extraordinary. That's just being human. Maybe that's what makes it so rare. Their eyes met and held. Chase reached out slowly. She didn't pull away. His hand covered hers, and her fingers intertwined with his. They stayed like that for a long time, hands clasped, hearts cautiously opening.
The following weeks fell into rhythm. Chase would make breakfast and head to work. Valentina would command her company from her desk. Brielle would come home bursting with stories. Miss Valentina, look, I drawed you a picture of a CEO. This is wonderful, Brielle. I especially love the butterfly wings. That's 'cause you're magical. Chase watched these interactions with a heart that felt too full.
One evening, Valentina insisted on helping with dinner. They worked side by side, and Chase felt something shift. After dinner and Brielle's bedtime, Chase came downstairs to find Valentina on the floor doing exercises. "Need a spotter?" he asked. "Always." He sat beside her, counting reps. The exercises were grueling, but she pushed herself hard. "Enough," Chase said finally. "You're going to hurt yourself." One more set. "Valentina." His hand covered hers. "It's enough." She looked at him, breathing hard, then nodded. "Help me back?" He lifted her carefully into the wheelchair, but instead of wheeling away, she stayed close. "Thank you," she said softly, "for not treating me like I'm fragile. You're the least fragile person I know." "I feel fragile around you, in a good way, like it's okay to not be strong all the time." Chase crouched down so they were eye level. Valentina's hand came up to rest against his cheek. "Chase, I think I'm falling for you, and that terrifies me." His heart hammered. "Why?" "Because I've lost everything once. I don't think I could survive losing you, too." Chase covered his hand with hers, kissing her palm. "You're not going to lose me." "You don't know that." "No, but I know that finding you was the first time in 2 years I felt like my life had purpose. I know that hearing you laugh with Brielle makes me happier than I thought possible. I know that when I come home and see you here, I feel like maybe I didn't lose everything. Maybe I just found something different." Valentina's eyes filled with tears. "That's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever said to me." "Then people have been saying the wrong things." She pulled him closer, and he wrapped his arms around her. They held each other, two broken people discovering that sometimes broken pieces fit perfectly. The next morning, Brielle found them asleep by the fireplace. Chase in the chair, Valentina in her wheelchair, hands still intertwined.
"Daddy, use holding hands with Miss Valentina."
Chase jolted awake. "What's wrong, sweetheart?"
"Nothing's wrong, but you like her, which means maybe we're going to be a family."
Valentina laughed. "Good morning, Brielle."
"Is it true? Do you like my daddy?"
Valentina looked at Chase. "Yes, I do. Very much. Is that okay?" Brielle's face split into the biggest smile.
"It's the best! Can we have pancakes to celebrate?"
As Chase made breakfast, he watched Valentina and Brielle at the table. "This," he thought. "This is happiness." 3 weeks in, Valentina's new custom wheelchair arrived. The sleek, high-tech chair looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie.
"It looks like a spaceship."
But before Valentina transferred to it, Brielle appeared with butterfly stickers.
"For good luck."
Valentina looked at the expensive chair, then at the little girl. "You're right. Where should we put them?" 20 minutes later, the sleek black wheelchair was covered in sparkly butterflies. During her video conference that evening, a board member commented on the stickers. "A gift from a friend," Valentina said smoothly, "to remind me what really matters." November arrived with cold winds. Chase finally saved enough to fix his truck, which meant more jobs, but longer hours away. One night, he found Valentina on the phone, speaking rapid Spanish to someone clearly giving her trouble. She sounded commanding, powerful, every inch the CEO. When she hung up, she looked drained. "Tough call?" "Former business partner trying to weasel out of a contract. He thought he could push me around because—" She gestured to her wheelchair. "What did you tell him?" Valentina's smile was sharp. "I told him I survived attempted murder. I'm not afraid of him." Chase laughed. "Remind me never to cross you. You're safe. You're not a business deal." "What am I, then?" She wheeled closer. "You're the person who makes me remember what it's like to feel safe. You're the reason I'm thinking about what comes after revenge." "After?" "After I finish rebuilding my company. I've been so focused on survival that I forgot to think about what I actually want. And lately, what I want looks like this, like you and Brielle and this farmhouse." Chase's breath caught.
Valentina. She paused. I'm not asking for promises, but I need you to know this isn't temporary for me. What I feel for you is real.
Chase crossed the room, dropping to his knees. It's real for me too. Then what do we do? I don't know, but maybe we just keep going. Keep being honest. Keep seeing where this leads. Valentina's hand cupped his face. I can do that. He leaned forward, and this time there was no hesitation. Their lips met in a kiss that was gentle and fierce all at once. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Valentina smiled. I think Mr. Bunny was right. Chase laughed, resting his forehead against hers. Don't tell Brielle. Too late, Brielle's voice called from the stairs. I heard everything. Mr. Bunny says, I told you so. They dissolved into laughter, and Chase realized this mess of emotions was exactly what he'd been missing. It was life. Real, beautiful, imperfect life. December brought snow and difficult news. The trial date was set for late January. Valentina would have to return to Chicago. I have to go back, she said one evening. The company needs me and the legal stuff. I know, Chase said. Come with me. He looked up sharply. What? You and Brielle? Come to Chicago. Valentina rushed on. I have a house in the suburbs, 4 bedrooms, huge yard, excellent schools, and Chase, my company needs a new head of facilities and construction. Valentina, I can't accept charity. It's not charity. You built Caldwell Construction into a $3 million company. You have the experience I need, and more than that. Her voice softened. I'm falling in love with you, Chase Hale. Being away from you has been torture. I don't want to do this separately. I want us together. Chase felt like the floor had disappeared. You love me? Yes, you idiot, I love you. I love your daughter. I love this farmhouse and your determination to fix everything. I love that you see me as a person. I love... He kissed her, cutting off the words. When they broke apart, they were both crying. I love you too, he whispered. I didn't think I could feel this way again. You deserve everything. Let me give you that. Not as charity, but as someone who loves you. What about this place? Chase looked around. Keep it. But Chase, don't trap yourself in the past. Andrea would want you to live. He thought about Brielle, who deserved better opportunities, about the future he could build with Valentina if he was brave enough. Can I think about it? Of course. But Brielle, eavesdropping again, had different ideas. Daddy, can we please go to Chicago? Please? Miss Valentina's house probably doesn't have holes in the roof, and I really want us to be a proper family. Chase looked at his daughter's hopeful face, then at Valentina's careful hope, and felt something crack open. Maybe it was time to stop just surviving. Yeah, he said. Yeah, let's do it. Brielle shrieked. Valentina's face transformed with relief, and Chase felt, for the first time in 2 years, like the future held promise. It held love. 4 months later, Chase stood in his new office on the 15th floor of Cross Technologies Tower, looking out at the Chicago skyline. Behind him, his office door opened. Mr. Hale, you have a visitor, his assistant said. Veronica rolled in, looking every inch like the CEO. Hey, stranger, lunch? Chase grinned. The boss is asking me on a date? Consider it a performance review. She wheeled closer, and he kissed her. The trial had concluded weeks ago. Veronica and the board members were convicted, facing decades in prison. Valentina had restructured Cross Technologies completely, implementing accessibility initiatives that Brielle had inspired. The company was thriving, but Chase knew the real story. It wasn't about a CEO reclaiming her empire. It was about 2 broken people finding each other and choosing to build something beautiful from the wreckage. How's Brielle? Valentina asked. Made 3 new friends today. Of course. Mr. Bunny is a legend. They rode the elevator down in comfortable silence. The farmhouse still stood back in Illinois. They visited on weekends. But Chicago had become home. At lunch, Valentina pulled out a small box. Chase's heart stuttered. What's this? Inside was a key. The farmhouse. I had it remodeled. New roof, everything fixed. I thought maybe we could use it as a retreat. Chase stared at the key. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do. You saw me when I was at my lowest, and you didn't walk away. That kind of love saves lives. I love you so much it scares me." "Good, because I have one more thing." She pulled out another box. A ring. Simple, elegant, designed not to interfere with wheelchair use. "Marry me," Valentina said. "Build a life with me, not because I saved you or you saved me, but because we choose each other. Every day." Chase couldn't speak. He just nodded until she laughed and he kissed her, and the restaurant erupted in applause. That evening, when they picked up Brielle, she saw Valentina's ring and screamed, "Mr. Bunny was right! We're going to be a family for real!" Chase lifted his daughter up and looked at Valentina. The woman he'd found broken in a ditch. The woman who'd refused to give up. The woman who'd taught him that second chances were real. "Yes, sweetheart. We're a family. The best kind. The kind we chose." That night, Chase and Valentina sat in their living room. "Do you ever think about that morning?" asked Chase. "Every day," admitted Valentina. "If you'd left 5 minutes earlier, if the fog had been thicker, if you'd died in that ditch." She ran her fingers through his hair. "But I didn't. The universe was giving us both a second chance. You'd lost everything. I'd been betrayed, left for dead, alone. We were both broken. And broken things can be fixed," Chase finished, "or rebuilt into something better." He stood up, kneeling beside her chair. "I have something to say." "Okay." "I loved Andrea. Part of me always will. But loving you doesn't diminish that. You're not a replacement. You're exactly who I'm meant to be with right now." "Chase, and I know you're scared, but I need you to hear this. I don't see your disability. I see your strength. I see a woman who runs a billion-dollar company, who survived attempted murder, who decorates her wheelchair with butterfly stickers because a 6-year-old asked. I see real courage." "Stop, you're going to make me cry." "One more thing." He pulled out a ring he'd designed himself. Simple gold, with coordinates inscribed inside of where he'd found her. "Valentina Cross, will you marry me? Not because I saved you, but because I choose you. Every day. For the rest of my life." She was crying fully now, nodding. "Yes. Of course, yes." He slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her with everything he had. Outside, snow began to fall. Chase understood something fundamental. It's not about the disasters. It's about what you choose to do after. It's about the people you find in the wreckage, the hands you hold in the darkness, the love you build from broken pieces. 2 years ago, he'd lost everything. 6 months ago, he'd found a woman dying in a ditch. Today, he had a family, a career, a future. And tomorrow held even more. The road ahead stretched before them, but they'd walk it together. Or, in Valentina's case, roll it together. And that made all the difference. Sometimes the greatest treasures aren't found when you're searching. Sometimes they're discovered when you simply stop to help someone else. When you choose compassion over convenience. When you see past the broken exterior to the fighting spirit underneath. Chase Hale had found Valentina Cross on the worst day of her life. But really, they'd found each other. And in finding each other, they'd found themselves again. That was the real miracle. Not the survival, not the rescue, not even the love story. It was the reminder that no matter how broken you are, there's always a chance for something new. Something beautiful. Something worth fighting for. You just have to be brave enough to reach for it when it appears, unexpected and impossible and absolutely perfect. Friends, if this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, if it reminded you of the power we all have to change someone's life with a simple act of kindness, please don't just watch and walk away. Hit that subscribe button and join our Everbells Stories family.